we'll kind of start by letting you introduce yourself, and we'll kind of introduce ourselves and kind of go from there.
Okay. Yeah, so Adam Neugebauer, originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Um, Coaching in this area is amazing, but it's also difficult because I'm a huge Steeler fan, and the
As is
Ravens
Derek.
aren't too kind here. So, but no, diehard Pittsburgh fan. Went to a great high school, North Allegheny, well known, and then played Division II football at West Virginia Wesleyan. Had a great career. We did some great things. We broke over 24 school records. Just got inducted in the College Hall of Fame there 2 years ago. So definitely
Congrats.
excited about that. We had some great OCs while I was there. Just to name drop a couple. I mean, Gary Goff was one of them. He played for Hal Mummy in the air raid offense. I worked with him a couple spots, but head coach, at McNeese the last couple years, and then now he's at Arkansas Monticello. Was at Valdosta State. Kurt Campbell was my receivers coach. He was the OC at Michigan, and now he's at San Diego or LA Chargers. Matt Barnes was also my OC. He is now the special teams coordinator at Maryland. He was a DC at Ohio State. And then Luke Getzey was my other OC.
Yep.
He's a OC in the NFL. So I've had a lot of great backgrounds from some great minds, and that's kind of how I've learned and got into coaching. And started out at Tiffin for 6 years in Ohio, Sandusky. If you guys have seen the movie Tommy Boy, that's kind of where the area
Yeah,
is.
dude. Okay.
Um, and then was at Georgetown for 2 years as the quarterback coach, Slippy Rock for 3 seasons as the OC, East Tennessee State as the OC, McNeese OC, and now at Towson. So been around, definitely love coaching and love coaching quarterbacks.
That's awesome, Coach. Yeah, just looking you up and everything. Obviously, you guys were super successful at McNeese when you were there. What kind of brought you to Towson after that stop at McNeese?
So, unfortunately, our head coach got let go. We
Mm,
went 0-10 the year before. We were the second youngest team in the country. I think we started over 26 different freshmen. It was pretty wild. And then went 6-6. Should have went 7-5, but 6-6. And the AD and the head coach just didn't see eye to eye. And um, I knew a guy on staff here, Alex Colt, the O-line coach, when this position opened up, and Coach Shinnick and I got along extremely well in the interview, and we still do, and closer to home, but also phenomenal area to recruit and
oh
to
yeah,
raise a family. So,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So from your stint now at Towson, Coach, how, at least from a quarterback position standpoint, how have you guys decided to kind of develop your room, the guys that you bring in? How do you select them? That's kind of the genesis, really, of our call, right? Like we are helping a lot of quarterbacks around the state of Florida right now, starting to help some guys in Wisconsin and now nationally. So really, our goal is to be able to kind of pick your brain and get a better understanding of what you're looking for in the quarterback position, what kind of elevates guys or demotes guys, and how they can kind of separate themselves from the rest of the pack. And I have a couple different questions that will delineate that, and we can go through it. But I'll let you start from there.
yeah, I think when the portal hit, as a football coach, especially a head football coach, before the portal, before NIL, they were you know, creatures of habit. So they were able to, have the same schedule, same year year in, year out. Not worry about people leaving to go up because you had to sit out a year. So when the portal hit, I think there was a lot of unknowns, and I think it depends on which level you're at. At the FCS level, I think it's extremely hard to find a transfer quarterback that has played because they want to go to the bigger schools.
Sure.
And we've taken a couple quarterbacks at bigger schools, at Power 4 schools that haven't played for 2 or 3 years. And unfortunately, they're really good quarterbacks, but they're either signaling or they're just doing scout team for those seasons, and they haven't been developed and they don't have the experience. So I've taken a different approach. I am going after high school players. So we just signed 4 freshman high school quarterbacks. We lost 4 last year, 2 to graduation and 2 to transfer portal. So I want to take high school quarterbacks each year. I want to develop them myself. We did that last year. We took Andrew Indorf from St. Thomas Aquinas,
Down in
won
Florida.
2 state championships down there. and was under recruited. But when I first got here, he was my first signee, and he did a phenomenal job competing in summer camp. Won the job and was rookie of the year this year. So, what I look for, number one, is you got to be tough. I played quarterback. I don't want the prima donna quarterbacks. I want guys that are going to be tough minded. It starts with how they were raised. So I do a huge background check on their family, their mom and dad. I'm going to recruit their mom and dad. I want them to feel comfortable to call me whenever they want. But I'm also going to be the same person as well. Like I'm going to answer. I'm going to be there for them. But they got to be tough. Number two, they got to be winners. Winning in high school is very important to me. There's a lot of high schools in our country. There's a lot of great quarterbacks, and I want guys that can win in high school. And we've been lucky to get a couple state championship guys on our roster. So I think those two things are the most important aspect that I look for. And then the third part is obviously technique and release. Having a great release that I don't have to change because they've been doing it for so long.
Abs-
So.
Absolutely. From a technique and release standpoint, coach, do you evaluate that through huddle? Do you evaluate through like the clips that they post online, or is it more like, hey, like I need you at camp, I need to see you in person, I need to be able to coach you live? Like or is it you going to spring ball, right? Or you going to a game in the fall? Like how do you kind of see that and get a feel for that for these kids?
Yeah, I think it's everything. I think everything you do with the quarterback position. Yes, we're gonna watch Huddle and their highlight video, but with Huddle, we also have the ability to watch full games. So I'm gonna watch full games on that quarterback to see, okay, he missed this throw. How's he gonna react on the next play? He threw this pick. How's he gonna react on the next play? Making sure that he is the most consistent guy on that field. Because it's very easy to put a highlight video out there and you see this post throw, this go throw, this comeback throw. But when you watch a game, you see the misses and why he missed, and maybe because he was rushed, maybe because of a certain coverage, maybe because the conditions of the weather, whatever it may be. But yes, gonna see game footage. I need to see them throw in person, whether I go to their high school or I get them to our camp or I see another camp. We got to see them throw live. Um, and then you also got to talk to the quarterback trainers. There's a ton of quarterback trainers out there and seeing and understanding what they believe in and making sure you believe in the same thing because that's how they're processing, that's how they're developing. And if they're not developing the way you want, you better make sure that that quarterback trainer is what you're looking for.
Absolutely, Derek. I feel like you're going to jump in here.
No, if you got mine, I wanted to. So my biggest thing is do you teach mechanics then?
Yes,
Okay.
I teach mechanics. I am not changing their release. I think their release is their release. And if you mess with their release, you're going to mess with their mental capacity of how I throw a football since I was 7. But I will teach the foundation, the base, overstriding. I do a lot of pocket movement. And I do a lot of technique and training, but I'm not going to change the release.
Okay. Yeah. So you're not getting into like whether they're a linear thrower or a rotational thrower. You're kind of allowing whatever they're already whatever their base is already at. You're just going to try to go ahead and either work with that and try to emphasize and get them to be more compact, or are you trying to change like angles, arm angles, anything like that?
I will at times. Again, if I get a freshman, I'm not going to go into those details. And I have a lot of great quarterback trainers that are friends of mine that if I get a quarterback and I have a quarterback trainer in this area, I'm going to send him that way, push him to, because that's what I believe in. But if I got to waste time on the practice field of changing the release or talking about release, then I can't get into the X's and O's. I can't get into the progression reads. I can't get into your footwork. There's so much as playing quarterback, protections, coverage.
Yep.
I want them to have their release and I don't need to talk about it ever
Okay.
again. And if it starts to become a problem, yeah, I'm
Right,
going to
right.
step
There's
in.
just so
But
many different
different,
philosophies. So that's why I was asking. Everyone's got a different ideology on like how one can throw. And even if you are a rotational minded QB trainer, at the end of the day, you're gonna get linear at the end. As long as
oh,
you're not completely sidearm.
yes. Yeah. And I got a quarterback here from Indiana that he kind of has that Philip Rivers kind of release. He's 6'3.5", but I mean, he won two state championships there as well. Never lost a high school football game, but he throws the ball with some smoke, and I'm not
Right, right.
changing that. That's what he
And he's
does.
accurate.
Yes.
Okay. So
So, coach, when you get freshmen into your program, what's the biggest thing, like the biggest adjustment that you feel that they have to make from high school that they maybe could get ahead of the game if they knew about it?
Yeah, I think number one for me would be anticipation. We look for consistency there, watching the film, going to their games. I think throwing guys open more consistent. A lot of guys will wait. A lot of the power four, 3, 4, 5 star quarterbacks do that already. At our level, you're trying to find a guy that does it as consistent as possible. So the anticipation part, which ties into your footwork, making sure that your footwork is this receiver's a little bit longer. I need to take a different drop than I would with a 5'8" receiver who's run the same exact route. I might be a little bit quicker, so understanding who your receivers are to tie your footwork into that. I think the second thing, and I think it's the hardest thing, again, there's a lot of great quarterback trainers out there. The issue that has have occurred for me in the last 4 or 5 years is they go to their facilities and some of them are indoors. And when they're indoors, the roofs are lower. So they're not really working a ton of air on the ball. It's all, laser
one
ball,
ball.
layer
Yeah.
ball, and there's poles in the middle, right? So it's tough, and that's all they know. So when we get them, and I'm like, hey, put air in the ball on a go route or a post, they don't know how to do that. And they struggle with it. So that's something I have to do right away when they get here. Hey, put air in the ball. Put air in the ball. And that's something that I think is going to be hard to change when you don't have a facility that's outside.
Absolutely. And
So I
thinking
have
about those Northeast guys, that probably is the thing that is at least cumbersome in the winter versus the guys that are in Florida, Georgia, Texas that might be able to get outside in the January, February months. Go ahead, Derek.
So from a linguistic perspective, language, right? There's no universal language for football. Everyone's got, it seems like every concept or maybe philosophy, whether for offensive coordinators. So when you look at quarterbacks, do you expect them to understand what you're saying already from from your verbal compared to maybe what they've been coached at a high school level that maybe you don't see that high school having the same knowledge?
Are you talking knowledge as far as technique, or are you talking like X's and
Uh, X's and O's, like, so if we
O's?
just we'll go or get away from the X's and O's, so like one ball, two ball, three ball, like because you were talking about arc and pattern
Mm.
and like layering the ball, like do you expect them to know things like that already? Do you expect them to know how to draw on the board, on the whiteboard already? But if they don't have that school that necessarily teaches that, how do you get around that?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. That's why what I do is during our spring practices, I try to get as many quarterbacks here as possible to get them on the board to see how they're
Okay.
being coached. If I go down and see them, I get them on the board. Like I want to see how they're being coached. And yes, there's going to be some places that don't have the resources or enough coaches to coach them. Maybe they don't have a true quarterback coach. If I think it's too much where I got to teach them so much and they're struggling on the board, yeah, I'm not going to recruit that quarterback. If I think they're minor issues and I love his tape and he's, high GPA guy and he has a huge IQ for football, yeah, I'm going to pursue that quarterback.
Okay.
As far as the language, we got to be on the same mindset. So whatever I'm saying, they're saying, if they say it differently in high school, that's okay. Like as long as they understand that
Okay.
they're being taught, the base and the standard of it. But you'd be surprised. You watch some of these highlight tapes. There's some elite quarterbacks, and they get on the board, they don't even draw no line. They don't have seven guys on the ball. You don't know which side the hash is, if it's left or right hash. And they draw these concepts and there's no depths, there's no progression. It's sometimes sad that some of the quarterbacks aren't taught, first of all, how to draw, but second of the details of a football
Right.
play.
So, and that was a big reason why I asked, because I mean, we'll discuss some things, and I'll talk to quarterbacks and say, okay, boundary corner, boundary safety, field corner. They're like, I don't know what that is. And it's like, so I guess some coaches use left and right.
Hmm.
Now, I tend to use boundary and field. I don't usually identify whether they're a strong or a free because they're interchangeable at some
Sure.
point. So yeah, that's what I mean by like language. Do you expect them to know that right off the rip if you've recruited them or if you know they have the intangibles, the athletic ability, the height, the weight, but they're not being coached at the level you want? Are they still recruitable, I guess, at
Yeah,
the end of
they're,
the day?
they're recruitable. And one thing I do, Derek, is I'm big on multitasking. So when I do drills on individual, I will make them multitask. So
Okay.
maybe it's a bag drill. They're seeing numbers from the middle guy, and they're also seeing directions where I'm trying to grab the football, making sure they have protection. And then I have a guy downfield whenever he flashes, he's got to throw. So he's seeing three things, hearing things, like he's got to multitask. I do
Okay.
the same thing when they visit. They're on the board, I'm playing music. And maybe before that he gets on the board, I went over some of our offense. And after he's done drawing, I'm going to ask him, hey, when we ran inside zone, what do we call it? And if he can't remember it, that he's showing me that he struggles to multitask or comprehend things.
Understood.
So I'm constantly, when they visit, can they multitask?
Yeah, throw
Can
into
they
the fire.
handle multiple things happen at one time?
Coach,
Yeah.
do you do that only on like official visits or unofficial visits, or do you do that at camp as well?
I do that. If I have a kid on campus
Hmm.
on unofficial,
That's awesome.
we are doing that. And if I'm bringing him and I'm gonna if they're spending time here because I wanted them here, I'm getting that right now because I never know when I'm gonna see that player again. You
Sure.
know, and I want to know what his how his mind works. Everyone learns differently, but in to be very blunt, if you can't multitask, you can't play quarterback.
Yeah, there's too much shit going on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Especially within the last 15 seconds, right?
Yes.
absolutely.
From a recruiting standpoint, coach, how are the guys that like end up on your radar? How do you just notice them? Like, is it because they reach out to you on Twitter? Is it because they come to camp as a freshman or a sophomore? Like, how do they get on your radar there at Towson?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of recruiting sites out there, and they're very useful. I'm very old school, and I make sure our offensive coaches are the same way. So let's say my area in Maryland, I have 35 schools. I will go to their huddle page, and if they're a 2027, I'm making sure I'm watching every kid. And if I look at their measurables and they're 6 foot, 200-pound O lineman, okay, I'm not going to watch his tape.
Sure.
But if they have the measurables and they have a junior film, that means they were good enough. So I'm going to watch it. And if I'm not intrigued for the first couple clips, doesn't matter if you're a quarterback, receiver, DB, I'm watching it because I'm covering my tail in my area.
Absolutely.
But it's the same. Like if there's a quarterback and he's throwing for yards, he has stats, I better know about him. So we recruit nationally. I think the recruiting sites are great. You know, the apps, Twitter, of course, is probably the top thing we use. But a lot of it is the high school coaches as well. You know, we still do a great job of reaching out to high school coaches because a lot of the times that is their mentor, that is their guy they're going to still. And, you know, if he's telling me he's worth it, then I'm going to look at him.
Absolutely. So when you evaluate those guys, those 2027 Qs, right? What are the throws you mentioned that you're looking for in the first couple clips that you watch, that first minute, right? Are you looking for a comeback? Are you looking for a go ball? Are you looking for a tight window throw on a seam ball? Like what are the kind of throws that you're looking for when you start to evaluate these guys when you haven't seen them live?
Yeah. So it is very important on how you sequence your tape because you want to grab the attention of the position coach, the coordinator, and the head coach that they're watching it. If I'm out there and I see five fade balls, come on, like give me something else. If I'm out there and I just see him scrambling around, yeah, that's a great play, but you're creating on your own. I want to see a mixture. Okay, how strong is his arm? Can he throw a post past 50 yards? How quick can he get around on an RPO to throw a bang eight or a slant so he's in rhythm? So I want to see rhythm throws. How great is he if he moves in the pocket and gets off his platform? Is he going to be able to still throw a football? Then I want to see if he takes a hit, is he going to get right back up? How tough he is? Is he going to stay in that pocket and throw that ball when he knows someone's coming straight through the A gap? So I want to see a mixture of yeah, some movement, but intermediate throw, a rhythm throw, a deep throw, of movement throw. Like
Off
show some,
platform.
some different aspects of playing quarterback, not just I threw five go routes for touchdowns.
And that's usually the first ones you see are the touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Versus the nitty gritty throws that you're talking about, the comebacks of the world that maybe get lost later in the tape, but should be moved up in the majority of tape, right? Derek,
Yes.
I'll let you go from here if you have any questions here.
No, I mean I like it. I've heard that before. It's like, can you, if you're working under center, am I able to do a 5-step drop back with a hitch and hit that comeback on time or on rhythm? Am I able to take that shot too, up the A gap, like Coach said? Timing wise, like if you're running digs from the backside, like that doesn't always, that takes development in terms of how that develops. So I'm not going there right off the rip every time. Are you looking on how they're progressing from 1, 2 to 3? Um, how do you diagnose that, I guess, in film? Like, do you diagnose that through his footwork on how he's going through it?
Yeah, and sometimes it's not their fault. You don't know what type of offense they're in, and you don't know
Right.
what they're being coached. Like, is it an offense where I'm only looking to one side and I'm looking to run because he's more of an athlete?
Yeah,
Is it
tag
because
tag
they're
concepts.
yeah, is it because they don't have an O line to protect and they're getting too many sacks or TFLs? Yes, I want progression. And if there's a progression clip in there, I want to see it. But I'm not gonna not recruit a quarterback because I don't see progression on there. You never know what is happening with their high school team.
Yeah, so a lot from what I see is mirrored concepts. So if we
Hmm.
run smash, it's on both sides out of a 2x2. So that's kind of where it's like some of the film might be vanilla and guess trying to get, your perspective and other coaches' perspectives on how do we catch your eye? Obviously trying to build connections with you, not to be blunt, but we want to get these kids recruited.
Hmm.
But if they don't have that particular style offense for a recruiter to see, how as a QB coach can we be better, I guess is the moral of the story.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the sequence is definitely important. I think the information that they're putting on there, maybe it's their title page, but their GPA, their measurables, making sure they're not, they're accurate. Everyone wants to say I'm 6'2", and you see him, he's 6 foot. But making sure they're actually true measurables.
Sure.
Right.
And then yeah, just
Coach,
I
is
love,
there an
I
arc?
love, I
Go ahead.
love when you have a quarterback that has a slot and it's like, okay. Quick game throw. Okay, 3 clips later. RPO throw. Next clip. Progression throw. So now I'm looking at it and going, okay, he knows what we're looking for, and he put it in his highlight video sequence. This is perfect.
That's
So
awesome.
that's good.
I like
I
that.
like that information too.
Yeah, I
So
like that. Is there,
Mhm.
coach, is there an archetype that you're looking for, whether that's specifically at Towson or across, all the stops that you've made, McNeese, whether it's like, hey, I need a guy that can move, I need a guy that can, that's 6'2" or above, or like has a big arm. Is there something that you're looking for specifically, or is it kind of like, hey, like you said, this kid's a tough kid. I don't care if he's 5'10" and can rip it, or he's 6'4" and can
Mhm.
rip it. Like, how do you kind of balance those?
yeah. Or is it, and I just want to piggyback before you answer, sorry. Or is it based off of the style of offense you run?
Yeah, I think the style's kind of gone away a little bit, just because the rules have changed. You can't cut on the perimeter. You can't do certain things in the box anymore. So a lot of teams that used to be triple option or wing T have gone to spread.
Sure.
And people have known that if you go to spread, you're going to get your quarterback recruited more. Like there's a lot more reasonings why people have gone to spread. Um, I really think as far as quarterback size was, like Andrew Endorf, he's 5'11". And yeah, he's not the biggest guy, but when you meet him, he has the moxie, he has the toughness, he has the experience. He's playing the top competition in the country. He's playing at St. Thomas Aquinas. I mean, their schedule might be tougher than some college programs. I mean, they're playing 4 or 5 star guys in, every week. So if he's able to get through a progression or throw a ball over that 5 star at Madonna, he can do that in college. So the competition is definitely something I look for. Like who are they playing? And that people always go, well, why is this quarterback transferring from this school to that school? Because he wants to play better competition so that he can get recruited more. So I think that's definitely a huge aspect. If they're bigger, yes, I want them to be an athlete if they're bigger, so they can run, and that's what we're looking for, as a add an extra hat to the box. But size does not matter to me as long as they're able to see and progress and they're 5'10", 5'11", great. If they got a cannon, I'm going to recruit them.
I love
What about 5'9"?
it. Uh,
I had
so
to
coach,
ask.
these guys that maybe they don't have offers and they're coming to Towson, they're going into their senior year. You like them. How do you go about recruiting them in the sense of like, are you Like they come out and they gas it at camp. They're throwing lights out. And you go through that extensive recruiting process. How does that kind of take shape throughout the year of, hey, I need to go watch him at a game, or hey, I probably need to go watch him throw again, or would you feel comfortable enough watching a kid and talking to his parents at camp where you're like, hey, this is my guy?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects. A lot of it's feel, as you get older and experience, like you just have a great it's really I tell every quarterback that visits, go to schools. You better like the OC and quarterback coach that you're working for. If you don't like him, you're not going to like it there. Yes, coaches move all the time, players are moving all the time, but
Sure.
if you're going to go there for a year, it's no longer a 4 year commitment. You're going there for 1 year right now. And you better like who you're being coached by because we're around them all the time. So for me, it's if I'm out there in the camp and he's slinging it, but his attitude is terrible or he's just so over cocky and he doesn't want to be coachable. No matter how well they do, I don't want him in my room. I want someone in the locker room is going to like. I look at, I've been burned by this a couple times. I look at their parents and quarterback parents. They're probably the ones that are the wildest, right? Because they
Sure.
care so much, they're involved, and that's great. I mean, I have experience with that. Um, and my dad was very similar. But I look to see how much these parents are doing for their kids, meaning are they relying on their mom to fill out that application? Are they relying for their dad to set up this call? I want to see how proactive these kids are to do things on their own. Because when
Independent.
they get to here, they're expecting their mom to call and go, "Hey, my son was sick. He can't go to class, and it's okay to be tardy or late." Um, but I want the kids to know like they got to do their job without their parents. And I think that's so hard as a college coach when they're away from their parents to change that because they're so used to their parents doing everything.
Sure.
So independence and accountability.
Yes.
Derek, I'll let you go if you have questions here.
Um, I not no.
I'm going,
You
I'm
can go
going,
ahead, Cole. Yeah,
I'm
go
going
ahead.
through, I'm going through my entire list. I think the last one I have, coach, is kind of as you evaluate guys from the transfer portal, and like you said, you've gone closer and more towards high school guys. Do you do you think that is specific for Towson, or do you think there's going to be more, at least at the FCS level, more colleges going towards that manner since the FBSs are starting to pluck your guys as if they've played for 2 or 3 years and been super super successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends on your athletic department's investment. I mean,
Sure,
some schools have, phenomenal NIL. Some people don't have any. Some people have a little bit. So I think it depends on that aspect. I think it depends on the area you're at and how comfortable the family is with keeping their kid there. The academic parts, there's a lot of high school quarterbacks when they get to some school and they start, the academic at that school is so high that they don't want to leave and they know they're playing. There's some families that, are going to chase the money because if he gets in the portal after having an all conference season, they're going to get paid, but are they going to play? What's the most important part, playing or money? And I think that's tough, for our sport right now. Like what's important for them. Um, so yeah, I just think there's so many aspects right now that, if I was at a bigger school, yeah, I'm gonna take the best FCS quarterback out there and try to get
sure.
him, no question. But at our level, it's really hard. There's D2 kids we can't even talk to because they're going to Old Miss or they're
Yep.
going to, bigger schools because they want to build their room up. So, I mean, if you're playing a quarterback, there's only one guy who can play a quarterback. If you're playing, you're going to the biggest schools.
Absolutely. I have one more question, sorry, and it kind of goes back to when you said bringing guys in that have played a lot. Do you evaluate how long they've played in the sense of like, hey, this guy was a 3 year starter at a school, or hey, this guy was a 2 year starter and he won a state championship? Like when you start to value those things, and maybe there's a kid that was a late riser and he only played his senior year, how much of a snap effect does that make for you? Like, hey, this kid just doesn't have the reps that maybe other kids that we're recruiting does, or hey, this kid has played for 3 years and he has 30, 35, 38 games under his belt. Like that is super valuable when you walk into Towson's QB room.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone wants experience. I mean, we got a kid from Virginia that is an Elite 11 guy, and I think Elite 11 is awesome
Yep.
because I can see them throw on tape, and they're competing against the top quarterbacks in the country. And he threw for 6,000 yards, and he started since his freshman year. Why wouldn't I take a quarterback like that that has experience playing great competition in Virginia and is a leader? Like, absolutely, I want experience. And I think there's so many great high school quarterbacks out there that should be on scholarship, but they're not because not many people are taking those high school quarterbacks anymore.
Absolutely. Derek, I'll let you go if you
Yeah.
have any final
So
remarks.
yeah, last thing. So basically, my last question would be, how do you measure like how a kid is improving? And how long do you stick with that kid if you don't find that they're improving at a rate that you approve of? I know it's a tough one, but
You're talking about when I have them on my roster?
yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, improvement is one, they got to learn the offense, but two, I think the footwork part is the hardest part to teach because so many kids just do their own thing in high school where they just backpedal or they
Oh
just take
yeah.
one step and throw. They don't realize how important it is to have proper footwork because those DBs are looking at your footwork. If you go too quick, it's quick game, they're jumping it. You take a three-step drop when it's supposed to be quick game, you're late.
Yep.
You take a quick game step and the O line's expecting a drop, you're gonna get sacked. So I think just need to see like what are you doing in Indy? What are you training them? How's their mind working? What are you coaching them on? Maybe they got to go out in the field and get Indy, and not just sit in a meeting room because our head coach said this, and it just made me like realize right now our kids are used to being, I'm gonna look at a video for 15 to 30 seconds on TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat, and then my focus is gone, and that's all they do all day. And we expect them to sit in a room for 35 to an hour to pay attention. There's no way they're going to pay attention.
Sure.
So one of our things is if your meeting's boring, then you're boring. That's a true fact. If your meeting's boring, you're boring. So I always set an alarm after 10 minutes. I might talk about we might watch a movie clip from Will Ferrell and, one of his
Oh,
great
that.
movies growing up just to get their attention span back. We might go, hey, let's go outside and do a quick walkthrough, just trying to do something to get their attention span to what we're talking about. And if they're not progressing after that, then yeah, maybe I didn't have the right quarterback, recruited. That's on me.
Okay.
That's awesome,
Understood.
Coach.
No, I appreciate that.
This has been great. Greatly appreciate your time here, and talking about the quarterback position and how you evaluate it, and the guys that you value. It's definitely going to help a lot of guys that watch this, and hopefully we can drive even more guys to Towson this summer. So